We usually have a rather simplistic view of how communication between people takes place. We believe that one person is sending a message and the other side is receiving the sent information. That things can't be as simple as that becomes quickly apparent if you look at the many conflicts that arise between people because of misunderstandings in the communication process. So in this video I want to introduce the 4 sides model, a model that helps to explain what is truly happening when people communicate with each other. It was developed by the German psychologist Schulz von Thun in the beginning of the 1980s, and since then it has become a core topic to be trained to educators, social workers and other professions where interpersonal communication matters. The main idea of the 4 sides model is that each message contains 4 different aspects. The meta level is the factual content of what has been said. The relationship level includes information about what the speaker thinks about the other person and how the speaker sees their relationship. The appeal level relates to what the speaker expects the other person to do after receiving the message, and the self-revealing level discloses information about the sender's motivation and feelings. The application and value of this model is best illustrated by giving some examples. Imagine that I am the trainer in a workshop and one participant called Peter was late in the morning and missed the start of the class. Now lunch break is approaching and I'm addressing the group. I say, we will resume our seminar after the break at 2 o'clock. If expressed like this, my message has a strong emphasis on the meta level. I am passing on neutral information when the seminar will restart. I might as well write it down on the flip chart or even send it as a WhatsApp message. Now another scenario. I move up to Peter, who was late in the morning, and I address him directly. I tell him, we will resume our seminar after the break at 2 o'clock. As you noticed, the content of the message remained the same. However, its meaning changed completely because of the way I presented it. In this example, the message's focus lies very much on the relationship level. This level covers a number of aspects. First of all, it shows how I see our relationship. Are we communicating as equals, for example, as colleagues or friends, or is our relationship unbalanced? In this example, I made it very clear that I am the trainer and Peter is a student. Secondly, it implies information about our past relationship. Maybe this is already the 5th time Peter is arriving late to my workshop. This aspect is very prominent in long-standing relationships. Just think about how much hidden communication is going on between a husband and a wife or a father and a son. It has to be said that most of the meaning on the relationship level is expressed non-verbally, by our intonation, facial expressions and gestures. And finally, we have the self-revealing level. This level covers the underpinning motivation for our communication. In the first example, my motivation might have been that I have foreseen an important group exercise in the afternoon that requires everybody to be present. In the second example, most likely I just felt annoyed that somebody disrupted our workshop by being late. The communication process becomes even more complex when taking into consideration that the receiver listens with 4 ears and the sender does not know on what level his message will be perceived. Let's have a look at another example. A director says to his assistant, "This information would have helped me a lot in yesterday's meeting." How could the assistant react to the statement? If perceived on a meta level, he will focus on the content. Maybe you could say, "Yes, I agree. This information would have helped to present the company's standpoint more clearly." If understood on a relationship level, the assistant will be reminded that it is his boss who is speaking. So the response could be, "Yes, Mr. Henry." If perceived on an appeal level, the question will arise, what am I expected to do now? So a response could be, "I promise that for the next meeting everything will be prepared in time." On the appeal level, the assistant will ask himself what he is expected to do now. So a response could be, I promise that for the next meeting everything will be prepared in time. If the assistant, however, focuses on the self-revealing level, he will try to understand what was the director's motivation for making this statement. A response could be, yes, you got in a very uncomfortable spot when you couldn't answer the client's question. In most communications, the involved parties rely on their gut feeling and do not make an effort to clarify whether they have understood the received information on the intended level. This approach is rather like a lottery, and there's a great chance that the message is perceived in the wrong way. In order to avoid misunderstandings and misinterpretations, we need to introduce a control loop. In this example, the assistant could clarify if he has applied the correct communication level by reflecting to the director how he understood the statement. Are you blaming me for not having this information available in yesterday's meeting? Or are you still angry about how yesterday's meeting turned out? In this example, the assistant could clarify if he has applied the correct communication level by reflecting to the director how he understood the statement. Are you blaming me for not having this information available in yesterday's meeting? Or are you still angry about how yesterday's meeting turned out? But also the sender of a message can help to make the communication process less ambiguous. For example, the director could include in his message the different communication levels that he wants to emphasize. I felt very uncomfortable in yesterday's meeting because I did not know about this particular aspect of the contract. Please remember to check for the next meeting that I have the full documentation available. Let's go back one more time to Peter, the latecomer. There is one more aspect to the 4 sides model. In every communication, we also include information about how we perceive ourselves, the other, and our relationship. For example, I might comment in the classroom, last week I attended a conference in Dublin where my friend Professor Hoot expressed this interesting idea. The I message is, I'm an expert who attends conferences abroad and meets important people. The you message might be, you are just participants who know much less about this topic than I do. The we message might be, I am superior, but I'm happy to share my knowledge with you. The receiver has 4 possibilities how to react to this view. He can agree, I agree with how you see yourself, myself, and our relationship. He can accept, well, I have a different perspective on this, but I don't mind how you see things. He can deny it, wait a moment, this is not how I perceive you, or he can just ignore it, you are nothing to me. The receiver's reaction is usually not expressed explicitly. Instead, it is expressed through intonation, mimic, or gestures at the relationship level of communication. What are conclusions for adult education? Most importantly, remember, the only way to be sure that the message has been received correctly is to double-check how it was understood. As the sender of a message, try to make it as unambiguous as possible. As receivers of communication, active listening and rephrasing are 2 important key skills. This additional control loop requires effort and can make the communication process more cumbersome, but it is the only way how we can ensure that we send and receive information on the same level. If trust and an open communication are important in your work, it is worthwhile to familiarize participants with the 4 sides model and to apply it in practice.